All right. Welcome to the Ultra High Net Worth Clients Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Broadhead. We started this podcast as a way to create a central resource of the best financial advisor practice growing tips shared by the most outstanding advisors in the industry, of which our guest today is definitely one. These outstanding financial advisors agree to be on the show and provide a ton of value for free, all in the hopes that our audience might learn from their words. My father was an advisor, and advisors are the main clients we serve. So, my marketing agency's mission is to help every financial advisor grow their business in an effort to help the world become more financially secure. Today, we have the rare pleasure of talking with an incredible financial advisor, Joanne Burke. Joanne, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm excited to be here. I'm Joanne Burke. I'm in Vienna, Virginia. I am a CPA and a CFP. I come to this financial planning world with a tax background. I have my own tax practice, and I started my RIA, Birch Street Financial Advisors, about 5 years ago.
Awesome, awesome. So you were a CPA first?
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
I studied accounting in college. I got my master's in taxation. I wanted to kind of explore the complexity of that world, and jumping into one of the big four firms. I got to skip audit, which was really exciting. I didn't want to have to do that. So I got my CPA, excuse me, right away, after leaving school. So yeah. Mhm.
hmm Awesome, awesome. So what inspired the move from CPA to get your CFA and start your own practice?
Well, actually, so I wish I got my CFA, but I got my CFP. So that's it.
CFP. Oh, apologies. Yeah, yeah.
That's okay.
Sorry, I got my
I think,
acronyms confused.
yeah, I know. Subconsciously, it would have been a great thing, honestly, because I'm very analytical. So I think you were going on that theme based on our earlier discussion. But actually, I got my CFP over 25 years ago, when we were just
Oh,
getting into the planning realm. My partner in the high net worth practice at KPMG was very forward thinking, and she saw this need coming and really jumped on it. In fact, I was digging through old client files and I found the booklet, the data collection booklet. So we're still doing the same thing. You got to collect the data, you got to have good information to be able to help folks. Um, but I loved the planning side of it because it reminded me of my finance class in undergrad. It was like, let's do this case study, let's solve this puzzle. We could go about it with analyzing a lot of different numbers and how do we support the strategy or the outcome of this company. And that's the way I look at financial planning. There's so many pieces to it, very complex, and trying to pull it all together to sort of fit the client specific needs. So I was working full time. I had a 2-year-old. I did all self study for 2 years of the CFP curriculum. And of course, tax planning was, I was already living it. And then I sat for the exam and passed it. So
wow.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you hate free time.
I would say I'm a lifelong learner, probably. That's true.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's amazing. Good for you. You are committed, motivated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um
Mhm.
that's very impressive. Um awesome. So you were a CPA and then you said 5 years ago you decided to break off and start your own practice. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, so 5 years ago, I started the financial planning firm, Birch Street Financial Advisors.
hmm
I, to take you back a little bit, so I was at KPMG for a number of years, 4 years, and then the whole practice, it was four women, the high net worth practice left
hmm
KPMG, and we started our own boutique tax and estate planning firm. So
Oh.
we were actually, yeah, so it was really cool because I was doing the income tax work, but then we were moving into the estate and trust tax space. And that is really, really complex and very, oh gosh, there's so many ways you can help people. Um, they have a significant loss or transition they're facing, and helping people kind of move through that, taking all this administrative stuff off their hands is really, really rewarding work. So it's with that group. of women for about 4 or 5 years. And then I started to have kids, and I really wanted to have a more active parenting role. So, encouraged by a colleague to start my own tax practice. At that time, I
Mm.
also interviewed what is now a $1 billion planning firm in Tyson's Corner. I got a job as a planner, financial planner, but I decided to go the tax route. I knew it. I felt more confident there. And so I started my tax practice. And I still have my tax practice. I started with 20 clients and it's grown to like 135 clients. And my goal was finally, my youngest went to college, and I said, hey, I really want to do something that I really love. The planning was what I really, really loved. The
Mm.
overall planning. I mean, I love the retirement planning, and I loved being proactive versus reactive. You're very reactive when you're in tax preparation business. And so I said, you know what? No time like the present. So I just kind of moved forward and set up the financial planning firm. And my goal was to convert my tax clients to planning clients. That was going to be my
Mm.
niche.
Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense. So many of our advisor guests, when I ask, like, how do you find clients, they go, oh, I have a lot of CPA,
Mhm.
referrals, and I'm like, what if you were just a CPA? You could refer them to yourself,
That's right.
refer every single one of them.
That's exactly what I did. It's funny though, Chris. I thought that I was going to have this overwhelming shift. People have their own advisors, or people don't really want to get engaged in the whole financial planning piece. I'm not doing just investment management. That's certainly one piece that we offer, but I mean, it's the financial planning that I think is the real value.
Hmm.
And which is not everybody was the right fit for it. So
Hmm.
my, I've gotten clients from estate planning attorneys. I do have those centers of influence as well, but not other CPAs yet.
Yeah. I mean that you speak their language. You go to their conferences because I don't want to call you a double agent, but you could be like, I'm also a CPA.
That's right.
Hey, what's up? That's really cool. So, um, it sounds like there are a number of advantages that advisors who are also CPAs could have. Could you kind of share some of those that you've noticed?
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking, it'd be great to get into financial planning, spread my work across the whole year, not just these deadlines,
Hmm.
and kind of move away from the tax piece. And the more that I've gotten into it, I realize, wow, the tax depth that I have, the tax planning is really the foundation of financial planning, to be honest. I think there are three things that we can control. That's our saving, our spending, and taxes.
Hmm.
So to really have someone that you partner with that really understands the current tax law, potential changes, and to help you weave in and out of it to reduce your lifetime tax, I think is really powerful. I honestly think that when I look at a client situation, so on my website, tax optimized financial planning is kind of my tagline, but I think 80% of our financial decisions have tax ramifications.
Hmm.
And you don't necessarily want the tax tail to wag the economic dog, which is a little phrase we use in the industry, but because you want to think of the whole picture. But I do think that understanding the tax ramifications is really powerful, really powerful. So I
Hmm.
come I come to planning with a very analytical mind. That I think is my CPA side. I love numbers. I love the quantitative analysis. I love numbers over words. Numbers don't they're black and white. They're
Hmm.
easy to work with. So um, that's what I think the CPA background does helps me. On a personal side, though, I am really interested in relationships from the CPA practice. I've had clients for 10, 15, 20 years, building trusted relationships. And that's not necessarily a CPA, but that's just how who I am. And partnering with my clients and building their trust is what I've been able to do um, over the course of our time together.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Awesome. That's great. So, yeah, I mean that's an interesting point you share there because, I think most um clients of advisors are like, oh, my advisor, he or she delivers a higher return on my investments. And you think you're like, okay, they must just like invest it well. But it's like if we can make less go away to Uncle Sam, then it's like that also increases the rate of return. And compounded over time, it's like, substantial. So that's, I can see that being the absolute like foundation. It's like we're gonna, make sure you keep as much of this money and then we'll invest it as well as humanly possible. And, that seems like a huge advantage, of someone with your background who is also an advisor.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And sort of getting that value across to clients, I try to really stress that. I mean, all of our retirement accounts, with the exception of the Roth, all of our accounts have a tax liability attached to them. So
Mm-hmm.
how do we make that the lowest possible over our lifetime? How do
Yeah.
we reduce our
Yeah.
lifetime tax?
Mm-hmm.
And I look at income tax and estate tax. It's not just the income tax piece. So that's really my goal, is to focus on our lifetime tax and more to family, less to Uncle Sam.
Mm-hmm. That's a good tagline too. There you go. You're just full of good taglines, Joanne.
I need to write that down.
Yeah. Hey, we're recording right now, so we got
Okay.
it. Great. So, this is so interesting. So when you acquire a new client, does it typically go by way of them being a tax client first and then a financial planning client? Or how does
Mm.
that, is it easier to get a someone for your CPA than it is for planning? And then obviously you have that relationship and trust, and you're like, hey, we can take all this awesome tax stuff that we're doing and then, turn it
Mhm.
into more money.
Yeah, that's another great question. And for other advisors who maybe have a practice, a tax practice, want to learn from that, it's I when I initially started, I let people know. I let my tax clients know, hey, I'm moving in this direction and would I be happy to work with you in that capacity? I actually had clients who were begging me to start the financial planning piece. So when I opened up the practice, I had already 5 clients. Like it was just,
Oh,
okay,
great.
let's go.
Nice.
So that was fantastic. And Chris, as I said before, I was really trying to shift away from these deadlines, from these tax filing deadlines. So I I actually am not taking any new tax clients. I get a lot of client referrals, okay,
Okay.
because everybody wants a really good CPA. And so
Hmm.
I never had a website for my tax business. Everything I had was word of mouth. So
Wow.
yeah, I think that's my marketing is really serving my clients deeply, and following them and understanding them. I think that's my best marketing strategy. So when I take on a new client, it's usually for the planning, and then will also do their tax preparation. It fits obviously very well. So really, they're coming in as a planning and investment advisory client, and then the tax preparation is sort of an add-on, and it does make the relationship sticky. When I got to a point where my goal was to exceed the tax firm revenue and then kind of make a sort of a cutoff, like a hard stop to say, hey, folks, I love helping you, but I'm really shifting this other direction. Here's the opportunity. And I had quite a few people come at that point as well because they're like, well, wait a minute. I can't lose my CPA. We've been working together 15, 20 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So that also shifted. So I was at one point I really did have to pare down on the tax size. So I have a few legacy clients that I'm working with that have some really complex situations that really help me to see these more these strategies that kind of are a little more in depth that higher level planning. So I've kept some of those folks, but really the only people I'm doing tax work for are my planning clients. So
Mm.
I
Okay.
tell folks I'm not just doing tax work anymore.
Hmm. Got it. Got it.
Hmm.
So I guess it's more the opposite. It's like you get uh planning clients and then
Right.
you do tax for them as
Yeah.
well. It's like
Yeah. So
you
yeah,
want my tax work? You gotta
yeah. And the tax planning is like all throughout the financial planning engagement. I mean, we're
Yeah.
constantly, as I said, looking at the tax piece. Really, the tax preparation, which is my other firm, is what's so reactive. It's always you're coming to me with historical information.
Mm-hmm.
I did tax planning for folks, but it was trying to get people to think about things in advance. They just didn't want to go through the exercise of reaching out to me or maybe even paying for that. Whereas now it's all just looking at it proactively. So the tax preparation is just a follow through, just to follow up on all the strategies that we put together for the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. That's really unique. One stop shop. I guess if you went to law school, you could be a tax attorney.
I know, you know, might
Hey,
could consider
if
that.
anybody can do it, it's you.
That's right.
That's awesome. So, I'm fascinated by taxes as a business owner myself, always,
Mhm.
looking for exciting new opportunities. Are there any exciting developments or important updates in the world of tax that you're willing to dig into for a second?
Yeah, well, we all thought, I think, that the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was going to sunset in 2026. But with the new administration coming in, which was their tax law from the beginning,
Hmm.
we may not see a shift. Okay, we may see things status quo. So as of now, there may be tax legislation this year that will impact probably folks from all levels. But I like to focus on Rothification strategies. I call it Rothification. I know Ed Slott, who's a really big player in this area. But I try to find that opportunity for clients of all ages, all income levels. I think that the conventional wisdom here is that tax rates will only go up. How are we going to pay for the deficit? Um, so really try to see if we can put these strategies into play for clients. And it could be for someone like you as a business owner. Maybe we set up a retirement plan where you have Roth contribution capabilities, right? Like, so
Hmm.
you could do it that way in the contribution space. Or we look at someone who is just retiring and not taking Social Security yet, not taking RMDs yet, and we do some Roth conversions. So we're moving money from your pre-tax taxable IRAs into these tax-free Roth IRAs.
Hmm.
So that is something that I look across the board with clients that I have helped people like over their lifetime, they will save tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I have one client I'm working with that if we continue with the strategy, he could save $5 million in taxes over his lifetime.
Oh
I,
my
I know
gosh.
it's crazy, but
That's
it's a
that's like
reality.
your entire that's a lot of folks' entire ideal retirement amount.
Yeah,
You're just
this I
saving
mean,
in taxes.
he's got a significant net worth, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It's all relative, right? I
Hmm.
mean, if you can save 200,000 dollars in taxes for someone who's got a couple $1 million, that's a couple years worth of spending,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
and that number, you're like, oh, 100, 200, that's like a decent amount. But if you're saving that over years and then the savings you're putting that into your portfolio and then that
Right.
is aiding in the compounding interest, you're like, no, that's actually like 10 times that much, 20 times that much that you're actually adding to your net worth. So,
It's right. It's right. I love the Roth and I love it as a current tax strategy and but I love it as a legacy strategy.
mhm.
I don't know how familiar you are with the IRA distribution rules. It used to be that you could pass your IRAs out over your heir's lifetime. Well, they've changed that in this legislation, the Secure Act. You can only defer this distribution for 10 years. Like
Mm.
the
Mhm.
account balances are only allowed to accumulate for up to 10 years, and then everything has to come out. You have to pay tax on it. But with a Roth, that's you can build tax free for those 10 years. And then when you hit the 10-year period, there's no tax for the heirs. They move it into maybe taxable accounts, obviously, but it's a really great legacy tool. It's a great account to pass on to heirs.
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. It's great because there's less tax implications and less of a
Yeah.
limit for passing it. Is that why?
Yeah, if you think about it, like, so let's say someone dies in their 80s and they have a 60-year-old child who's in their highest earning years, and the parents already taken the tax hit, meaning when they converted the IRA to the Roth IRA, they paid the income tax. It grew tax free. So now you're
Mhm.
passing it to the child with tax free
Mm.
account. Okay. So it grows
Oh, I
tax
see.
free. And then when you have to distribute it, then you can invest it however you want to. But if it was in a taxable IRA, they would have to pay maybe 35%, 37%
Mhm.
income tax.
Mhm.
Where do they live? What's their state income tax?
Mm.
Sometimes those balances can be reduced by 30, 40, 50%.
Yikes.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So this again, it's that lifetime tax bill. It's like that trying to reduce that liability on those accounts. Like, I mean, you're thinking about not just yourself, but your heirs' tax situation, like their
Mm.
tax
Mhm.
brackets. And so,
Yes.
and even planning to give it to grandkids, skipping your kids. And there's just a lot of great fun opportunities to explore with the
Yeah.
Roth. Hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then is there a tax situation like just passing it? Like I know there's no taxes because it's a Roth,
Yeah.
but because they received it, that's money that they received. Do they pay taxes on the inheritance? Because it's a Roth, they
No.
don't?
Yeah, no. So the way the estate tax works is, so this is right now, which is another 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act change, is that the estate tax exemption has been climbing and is over $13 million. And what
Mm-hmm.
that is basically when you die, you can transfer $13 million to your heirs without paying
Mm-hmm.
any estate tax. Estate tax is
Mm-hmm.
different than income tax. It's a snapshot of what you own at your death. And then anything over that 13 million basically is taxed. And the tax rate can go up to 40 to 45%. So it can be really, really
Whoa.
onerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Roth account balance is considered in the estate tax, but if you're below that 13 plus million, you have no estate tax. There's no inheritance tax anymore. Now, some
Mm-hmm.
states still have an inheritance tax, but that's few and far between. So you have to look at that. But
Mm-hmm.
on a federal level, no, there's no tax really at all. No income
Mm-hmm.
tax or estate tax if you're under the exemption.
Oh, okay. And
Hmm.
then obviously over the 13 million, it's taxed at uh, a
Yeah,
significant amount.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. But
Hmm.
I'm sure there's are there strategies to mitigate that as well?
Well,
Asking for a friend.
yeah, right. Well, of course,
Just
if you're
curious.
married, you've got 26 million because each spouse gets
Oh,
13 million.
wow. Okay.
Okay, so there's that. But as far as what I tend to like folks to do is to kind of start lifetime giving. What I do for my own children, I don't have a trust for them, but I give them money to fund their Roth IRAs.
Mm,
So they are building tax-free accounts. It's reducing my taxable estate. I'm doing
mm-hmm,
an annual gifting. And so it's under the $19,000 a year. You can, in 2025, you can give someone up to $19,000 without any gift tax ramifications.
mm,
So I like to look at lifetime giving strategies to say, okay, how do we reduce our taxable estate so that we don't have the tax? We've given them the money when they need it. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Bill Perkins' Die with Zero, his book where give your people
Yeah.
need the money when they have the highest utility for it 20s, 30s.
Hmm.
He goes on to say you shouldn't save for retirement until you're in your 50s. I am not a fan of that because I believe in time value of money and
Yeah,
things growing.
yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, lifetime giving is a way to sort of circumvent that estate tax.
Hmm. Okay, got it.
Hmm.
Awesome,
Hmm.
awesome. Cool. Thank you for sharing that tax stuff.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Oh, I've got more. You just
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah, that's great. Tip of the iceberg there.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm curious, with every advisor, we interview folks all over the country.
Hmm.
Do you focus on a specific type of client? Do you have a niche? Sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's unconscious. What are your thoughts there?
Oh, I am a Kitsis and Carl, Michael Kitsis and Carl Richards fan, and niching is what they preach. And
Hmm.
as I said in the beginning of the podcast, kind of jokingly, I really thought that Joanne's tax clients were going to be Joanne's planning clients. And I have folks all across various occupations, ages, status. So that really wasn't the niche. What I really kind of honed in on, Chris, is this pre-retiree, like 3 to 5 years, and retiree sort of like phase of life niche.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, Again, back to that analytical, quantitative sort of opportunity to help clients. But I've also adopted sort of this qualitative approach where I use a lot of the money quotient tools. That's an organization that really where we use like how do we help you align your values with your resources? So we're looking at kind of your money whys, like taking a look at sort of your money history and what it means to you and what would you really want to be doing, not just with your financial resources, but your human resources. Um, so yeah, so that's kind of where I lean with that and just that opportunity there back to the Rothification, that time period from when you stop working to when you start taking Social Security benefits, or you're required to take these minimum distributions, RMDs, from your retirement accounts. So what I call the sweet spot for Roth conversions, because
Hmm.
you usually have lower income and you are have some lower tax brackets to fill. And so this is the opportunity to take that money in these pre-tax, these tax area accounts, bring it into income at that time period, and then you are reducing the tax hit down the road when you
Hmm.
have to take that money out because you've
Hmm.
taken advantage. So let's say you're in the 10% bracket. A lot of people would jump for joy on that. Whoa, great. I don't have to pay taxes. But no, actually, you do want to pay taxes. You probably want to pay taxes up to the 22% bracket because guess what? When those RMDs come out at age 75, you are going to be in the 24, 32, maybe 35% bracket, because
Hmm.
they've pushed that age to when you have to start taking money out of the IRAs. They've pushed it further and further out. It just means those balances continue to increase. The market like has a roughly a 10% return over the last 40, 50 years. I mean,
Hmm.
don't we anticipate if you continue to be invested, we anticipate that your accounts would grow. And we also anticipate that tax rates will probably increase too, just because as the deficit has to be paid at
Yeah,
some point. We can't kick that can down the road too long, I guess. I mean,
yeah.
that's kind of my thinking. This is where I come to the table. So back to that that phase of life is just which is so perfect, so ripe for a lot of these complex tax strategies.
Hmm.
That's the space I like to work in.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's really cool. I love the 401k to Roth conversion like that. I'm
Hmm.
like, how is that even allowed? You're like, thank you.
Yeah,
Our government did something
yeah,
good.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. And so you have this kind of specific niche in mind. How do you get on their radar? How do you get their attention? How do you prove yourself trustworthy and get the conversation going?
Yeah, that is really a good question because it's hard when someone's just coming off the street to say, "Yeah, I trust you. Yeah, I'm going to bank my money with you. And okay, I'm going to pay you these fees to help me over the lifetime." I think that um, I'm just really honest and open with people. I think that letting them know that I understand that this is a really important decision, and one where they have to feel really comfortable and they have to learn how to trust. That's why my engagements are ongoing financial planning. And I explain to
Hmm.
folks that I don't do one off projects or hourly work because I believe in the commitment to them building the trust with me and me really learning to understand them so that I can help serve them better. So it's my engagements are ongoing. Okay. So we don't look at it as like, okay, this is a one off. I just don't feel like I can really serve them and build that level, that same relationship, so I can be their thinking partner, their accountability partner. Um, so it's keeping that kind of engagement with them that is really, I think, one way to provide the sort of trust factor. Um, I have clients who are happy to talk to prospects to share their experience. There's some marketing issues with being able to put testimonials on your website. And of course, we got a 14% above the market return and things like that. Um,
Guaranteed.
exactly. And so I haven't been able to, but I do have some tools where I show people sometimes the tax savings that we can generate. I use Income Lab, for example. That's really, really a great tool to help people think about guardrails. What that means is, what can we take off our portfolio each year? Um, and whether it be from existing income or withdrawals, so that we will have enough to last us through our planning horizon, given the account balances we have, given our investments the way they are, and that guardrails is something that we monitor every year. So, um, because count values and balances change, market changes. Okay. So we're helping people see, hey, I am within this guardrail. This is great. Oh my God, it helps people sleep at night. They love that. There's such an unknown trying to figure out, what can I spend? How much can I spend? Do I have enough? All these questions, like just really helping people to solve those questions, like, can I give money to my kids? Um,
Mhm.
what about long-term care? Am I going to have enough for a catastrophic event? Like, um, I think that being able to help people solve those questions is what builds the trust, brings the value, helps them to sleep at night. So that's what I try to relay. These are questions I help other people solve that are in your same life space, and that's what I can help you solve.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I mean, you're a very trustworthy, knowledgeable, hardworking person. So I think you 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 walk you walk the talk. You back up what you preach. So that's awesome. Well, we are coming towards the end of our time together. I have one final question for you. It's an open-ended question. You can take it in any direction that you like. And that question is, what are you working towards?
Well, good question. I've always got something I'm
Thanks.
thinking working toward. I want to expand my practice. I have 30 client families and I'd like to get to 35. As you can tell, I'm pretty high touch with clients, so I spend a
Hmm.
lot of time with them. Um, I want to be able to really continue to deepen how I serve them. Um, and also to then provide a lifestyle where I get what I need to be recharged and the time that I need to be able to regroup, to be able to come back and serve them with a fresh outlook. Um, always working toward gosh, I had 100 hours of continuing education 2 years ago, but I'm always learning. I'm always trying to keep up with tax laws, but I'm always learning about other planning strategies. And I think for the last 5 years, I've given my my volunteering sort of a back seat. And I think that moving forward, I'd really like to give back, whether it's in the planning community or it's in my own community. Um,
Mm,
I love helping women. I have widows. There's another kind of practice niche that I have just because of my trust and estate background. But somehow giving back to women, help to empower them, is something that I am really been thinking about and trying to figure out how I can get
mm,
in that space to really fulfill that desire and that need.
mhm. Yeah, I think that's a very um fulfilling niche to serve. We've had a couple advisors who serve widows and gray divorces, and
Hmm.
they just and usually it's because like they were in that same situation, or their mom was in that same situation,
Hmm.
and they just knew they knew like what an amazing impact like that advisor made on, like, essentially like saved their life and their family's life.
Hmm.
So yeah, I can see that. I can see you excelling with that niche.
Yeah, it's so rewarding. I mean, I have probably 4 or 5 clients, and just to walk them through every experience is different. Just to be by their side, like to walk them through,
Hmm.
and really kind of part of it is taking the plate off, helping them decide when they need to make decisions, keeping them in this we
Hmm.
call decision-free zone space where it's like, okay, you don't have to act right now. But
Yeah.
here are the short term, here's the next level, and then here's the future, of things that you're going to have to address. But it's that connection. And really, what's been so beautiful is watching them, as I said before, empowering women, but watching these women who really weren't the financial, um, uh, served a financial role in their relationship, to watch them take it over and to make these decisions. And I mean, these gals are smart. They just didn't give themselves enough credit because I mean it was done for them, right? Because that's everybody played
Hmm.
to their strengths. But it's so cool to watch these people like make to feel a confidence and to come to me with, I think I want to do this. I think to come to me with what they're thinking because they really kind of understand their situation. I love it. I love it.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. That's beautiful.
Mhm.
To also feel that sense of community, and just that you're helping someone you care about. That's it's a beautiful thing to align with your career.
Mhm.
And it sounds like you have a whole lot more of that ahead of you. So we'll be excited to continue watching your journey there, Joanne. Joanne, this has been an absolute pleasure. Where can my audience find out more about you?
Chris, thanks. This has been a delight. I really appreciate you having me on. You can reach me at my website. You can look me up at www.birchtreatadvisors.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. So you can find me there.
All right, and we will link to those in the show notes. Joanne, thank you again so much. This was truly a delight, and I learned a bunch as well, and I hope one day to have your incredible work ethic and motivation and just absolute distaste for free time.
Thanks, Chris. It's been my pleasure.
All right. And to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in, and keep on growing out there, everybody. See ya.